I'm not afraid of ghosts, I'm not afraid of sharks, I'm not afraid of cancer, I'm just afraid of snakes. They really creep me out. Where are their arms and legs? It's not okay.
I'm a snake.
Meet, then, fellow hunters, Najarala, the snake wyvern. In fact, it really is unique, and it's trying its best to. Look at it over there, being one of only 2 members of the snake wyvern class, the other one being crappy little Remobra that used to be a flying wyvern till it got reclassified.
Fuck you!
You think you're so cool, Najarala? Well, you don't see Nursilla over there being all la-di-da about being the only Temnoceran, do you?
I actually quite like being the only spider. I just tend to eat my friends, actually. If you'll excuse me.
So yes, Najarala is fascinating because it's a low-tier entry-ish monster that you fight fairly soon on in your Monster Hunter journey, but it's unlike anything that you have seen up until that point, or indeed, for the most part, afterwards, if we don't count Dalamadur, who's technically an Elder Dragon, but does kind of give the appearance of, let's take Najarala, but like, all the way to 11. But you have this absolutely gigantic, slithery, writhing, well, snake monster, despite its stubby little legs that are surprisingly powerful, enabling it to plow through the earth as it tunnels and surprises foes from underneath in brutally efficient ambush assaults, also allowing it to support itself as it rears up, coiled around, ready to strike. But let's make no mistake, it is as close as Monster Hunter is gonna get to a straight up snake monster, and it's very much worthy of that title. It just is visually intriguing, the hard plate frills lining the top of its head, giving it an imposing yet beautiful crest, the body curving round with overlapping segments of hard scale down to its fan-like tail that it can rattle and send flying at you with a swish, a barrage of deadly pointed ammunition that not only can pierce through armor, it can generate a piercing noise vibrating through the air, and especially so when it lands, like a triangle being struck. And this disorientates foes, and then once embedded into the ground, they are not yet done. Najarala can vibrate at great speeds its crest, and this sends shockwaves through the air that are, just so happen to be, the frequency required to destabilize the embedded projectiles and causing them to burst apart in a shower of lethal shrapnel. And if it wasn't enough to be filled with a fresh set of bleeding perforations across your entire body, the rattling of the waves through your being, the jostling of your organs, of your brain in your skull, well, will leave you dizzy, confused, and stunned, awaiting the mercy of this beast that will surely not be delivered. And this is just the start of Najarala's party tricks. It has a unique mastery of sound and vibration that really is of a class of its own. The plates atop its head lead and connect to an organ located in its skull that allow it to generate and project explosive amounts of sound, ricocheting through the air, bursting eardrums, before eventually exploding outwards from point of impact, forcing all caught in the clamor to be sent sprawling in all directions. This brutal and impressive attack is directed by its parrot-like beak, and it really can fuck you up just as much as a parrot fucks up, well, just everything. God, I want a parrot. Now, Najarala is a capable fighter and an even more capable hunter. An ambush predator specifically lying in wait either underground or coiled deep in foliage hidden between the leaves, masking its presence, its colouring sitting so lovely against a jungle backdrop before it will strike with deadly precision and paralyze its foes with a venom produced in the fangs growing out and large from its lower jaw. Then it will begin to constrict, coil around, tightening and tightening until bones are crushed, crack and crunch, the body collapsing in on itself as life is forced out, and then it will drag its new meal away to its den where it can eat in safety and without competition. It is not a nice way to go, in fact, one of the most horrifying and painful in all Monster Hunter. The strength that this creature can apply with its body fully embracing its victim is nigh unimaginable. It would be able to crush buildings at a moment's notice if it could be harnessed in such a direct way. When asked specifically, Najarala, why do you put your prey through such horrific ends? Well, he only had this to say.
'Cause I'm a snack. I'm a slither. Look at my tongue.
Najarala is also extremely skilled at using its environment outside of basic ambush camouflage skills that you learn in Junior Monster High. He can even use the mist that slowly emanates out the ground of many of his natural habitats to hide him from plain sight, becoming one with it before slowly and surely creeping closer until it's too late. He can use his coils and agility to make great speed adjustments round the battlefield, outflanking enemies, and attack always where they are weakest. And it's through this combined veritable Swiss Army knife of tricks, tactical awareness, and surprising size that lets it compete with monsters you might not think it would. It can go toe-to-toe, or wavy body to more rigid body, with the likes of Gormagala, with the likes of Tigrex, with the likes of Nasilla. Hell, even Rajang have been reported to not being able to take down the beast, at least with the caveat of before it escapes. Elder Dragons prove, of course, another challenge altogether, and one it avoids virulently, though needless conflict is something that it does strive to not be all about. As much like Nagakuga, it is much happiest when no one knows it's there. The beak is razor sharp and can snap tree trunks in half and rip flesh from bone as if it was already liquid. They are very powerful animals and masters of their environment, and you really don't want to be on one's bad side. Honestly, they do remind me a lot of my skink, Nyx, a snaky wavy body in how they move, but with legs to help them get around the place and let them do things that they otherwise couldn't, though Najarala is a little bit more ferocious than my guy. Though despite them being able to battle such fearsome opponents, their prey mainly consists of your herbivores, the odd Yankutku, and sometimes a Congalala. Congalala, no! But But it is nice to know that even a Devil Joe is going to have to work real hard to break through this creature's arsenal. Hell, even just on getting through the shell is going to take some work. It is sturdy. The tail specifically can repel even the sharpest weapons that hunters can muster from their greatest craftsmen. I think Najarala is often underappreciated and largely forgotten, and it's a shame, because it really is one of the more unique, interesting, and fun fights in the entire game. The first time you get encircled and you're like, what? How am I gonna die? How do I get out? What the hell? As you try and run out of this spin of death, it really is a moment and you remember it. But Najarala does come in another flavor, the title Najarala. This one is beautiful. Purpley blues streaking down it. It lives in icy wastes and gains the ability to spit frozen globs of water on top of its already frightening array. It's a little bit larger, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. You know, the subspecies Drill, and now has to compete with the more frozen denizens like the Zamtrios, like the Stygian Zinogre, and it does so well, even sometimes managing to, at the very least, hold its own for a little while against the Kushala Daora. But the title's most impressive display of prowess is using its plates to bounce water around the battlefield in order to both confuse enemies and strike them with pinpoint precision. Najarala can also swim. It is very comfortable in the freezing waters and likes to surprise those from underneath, much like the Zamtrios does. More than anything, though, this subspecies is more intelligent, it is more cunning, it can plan a lot better and work its environment to a level normally only seen by the much higher upper echelons of monsters. It really is quite the bad luck to bump into one when you're already, more than likely, freezing to death. I would adore Najarala in World, I absolutely would. And look, with Iceborne coming, I mean, is it not the perfect time to put the title in? I have said this many times, but I am totally comfortable with the subspecies of something being the only representation of it in the game. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have the base monster. And World, for all its wonderful glory, does need just monster variety, total and different creatures. And what better than the only snake wyvern? Shut up, Remobra! Than the only snake wyvern in Najarala. The vision of it when you first see it is magnificent, and that's something I want many world-only players to experience. Seeing a snake absolutely towering above them burst forth from icy sheets. Now that is an impressive start as you walk into this new land to be discovered. I really want it to happen. I have a soft spot for Najarala, and I think it is a shame that, at least as far as I'm aware, a lot of people tend to kinda just forget about him. So I hope you've enjoyed this, everyone. Like if you did, subscribe for more, and I will see you very, very soon. Let me know who you'd like to be Lord next. A goodbye. I'm a snake. What was that laugh?
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.